Hello, my name is Shermaine Barrett, and I will be taking you through a series of lectures on the topic Learning Theories in Adult Education. In this lecture, we will explore the definition of learning theories, discuss experiential learning theory, we'll look at Kolb's 6 Principles of Experiential Learning, Kolb's 4-stage theoretical model, and then we'll discuss some techniques to apply the stages of experiential learning in your classes, and we'll close with Kolb's learning style inventory. Do you remember the best class you ever had? The class in which you were most confident, in which you learned the best. More likely than not, this was a class in which you felt motivated to learn, and you were actively engaged in the learning activities. But this is not always the case. The difference in one's learning experience is often highly linked to the perspective of learning held by the teacher, trainer, or facilitator. And at the base of this perspective is what educators refer to as learning theories. What are learning theories? These are general statements about how people learn. And so by understanding the ways in which people learn, educators can plan the most effective ways to engage learners and help them to learn. The literature shows that there are many different ways by which persons explain how adults learn. Put simply, there is no single theory of learning that can be applied to all adult learners or to all adult learning contexts. And so the more familiar adult educators are with those theories, the more effective they can be in meeting the needs of their learners. In other words, by giving attention to how adults learn, trainers can tailor training programs to take advantages of the qualities and characteristics of their learners. In this series of lectures, we will discuss 4 learning theories which are frequently associated with adult learners and learning. These are experiential learning, transformational learning, andragogy, and self-directed learning. In today's lecture, we will give focus to experiential learning as a critical adult learning theory. But in fact, this approach to learning is central to how we have been learning from as early as our childhood. Let's think of a toddler learning to walk. The toddler moves just by crawling on his or her tummy until they figure out how to get up on their knees to move about. But then they continue to see all others around them in an upright position, moving about, and soon we see that toddler making attempts to stand. You may see him or her holding on to some item of furniture to help them in this process. But soon they figure out how to stand on their own. And then it becomes a joy for those around them to watch as the toddler goes through the process of figuring out how to not just stand on their own, but to take some steps without holding and without falling. And this goes on until the toddler masters the art of walking on their own. The toddler has gone from watching others walk to being able to walk also. This is the essence of experiential learning, or learning by doing. So no matter how complex the concepts may be that we will discuss, this is the essence of it all. So now, let's get into the meat of the matter. what is experiential learning? Experiential learning is an educational orientation which aims at integrating the theoretical and practical elements of learning for a whole person approach. As the name suggests, experiential learning is a theory that emphasizes the significance of experience for learning. It argues that the essence of adult learning is making sense of experiences, and so from a philosophical perspective, the theory views the nature of knowledge as experiential. The implication here is that adults learn best by doing. In other words, they learn best when they are involved by experiencing the learning instead of just memorizing and regurgitating. From the experiential learning perspective, learning takes place either by direct involvement and reflection or by observation of the phenomenon and doing something meaningful through active participation. So the learner is actively and personally engaged in the process. And so very often experiential learning is defined as active learning. One of the leading thinkers on experiential learning is David Kolb, and he describes the approach as one in which the learner is directly in touch with the phenomenon that is being studied, rather than just watching it, or reading, hearing, or thinking about it. According to Kolb, learning is the process whereby knowledge is created through the transformation of experience. Knowledge results from the combination of grasping experience and transforming it. Kolb further notes that personal experience gives to the learning experience life, texture, and subjective personal meaning rather than just abstract concepts. But despite the theory's focus on experience, it does caution that experience alone is not enough for learning to take place. And so only experience that is reflected on and consciously processed can facilitate learning. Kolb's theory, which we will look at in a minute, is built on 6 principles. These are: 1, learning is seen as a continuous process grounded in experience, and so the focus is not on outcomes. Number 2, learning is relearning. This speaks to the idea of pulling out learners' previous knowledge or their ideas and building on them. And thirdly, learning requires the resolution of conflicts. 4th is that learning is a holistic process and involves the whole person. 5thly, learning results from how we interact with our context. And lastly, learning is the process of creating knowledge. This is building on the principle of constructivism. We'll stop there for now. And in part 2, we will discuss Kolb's 4-stage model.